Erik and David, those betting magicians pitching mad numbers like surgeons' decisions. They got the stats playing minds like percussion. MLB predictions spark the discussion. Stacking cash higher than Fenway's monster. Slinging wild bets like cowboy imposters. Reading those innings like Nostradamus. Wave the green hot streets like Bahamas. Spreadsheets everywhere, mathematician minds analyze the games, profits they grind, fastballs, curveballs, every pitcher's tail, in their heads, knuckleballs never fail. Erik reading numbers like tarot cards, David calling shots like all-star guards, money lines, parlays, come hit with precision, home run predictions, no intermission. High stakes, ballers cashing checks in. Rise with the bets, swinging from the pen. Erik and David, masters of the scoreboard. MLB bets and claim they hoard. High stakes, ballers cashing checks in. Rise with the bets, swinging from the pen. Erik and David, kings of the ledger. Baseball fortune, spread them like treasure.
Hello and welcome to Diamond Bets for August 2nd. How is everyone doing? My name is Erik from eTalk21 Sports, and my boy living his best life in Denver, my boy David, aka bettor DP21. David, how you doing today, my man?
Doing great, man. I mean, you saw him like stuff from last night, the Denver burger battle that we had out here, but it was great. It was like 15 vendors of different burgers from either breweries, local establishments, whatever. And then they had about 8 to 10 distillery and breweries to support that as well, to wash it down. So, it was a great event.
So you're doing that. I come home to a broken refrigerator. Like literally, I walk in to my.
You got to get out more, man. You got to get out.
I got Lake fucking Erie in front of my fridge. I just looked out, like I grabbed the Miller Lite. Had the Miller Lite even before I addressed the situation. I was just lucky my dog wasn't there, because if my dog was there and he like rolled around, this place would be all just, oh, dude.
It's another thing.
Yeah. Here. But I'm not here to talk about me living in the money pit. We're here to talk some MLB. And I'll tell you what, we absolutely killed it last week. Combined, we went 4-2.
Yep.
David hit the Marlins plus 193 first 5, Red Sox plus 105. I hit O'Neill over 1.5 bases, Royals minus a half first 5. Unfortunately, Butler could not get it home for me, and the Royals could not get it home for you. David is 11-7 plus 5.57 U on the year. I am 12-8-1 plus 5.74 U. So hopefully we can keep this money train going. Those watching, basically how it works, we each have 3 bets. Say why real quick, wham bam, and then we're out. So David, you are going to start us out. But before we get into all that, trade deadline happened.
Yeah.
Is there any move that you step back and you're like, oh, I kind of like this move? And anyone that you're shocked didn't get dealt?
Ooh, quite a few people I was shocked that didn't get dealt. I didn't know what the Giants were doing. I don't know why they held on to people like Snell for themselves. I think that was key for me. It was just kind of watching, like, I don't think they have an identity of knowing like what they're doing with that organization, just from the top down, in my opinion. I mean, they, record wise and everything else in terms of where they're at in the standings and, just kind of where they're trying to go to get there. It's like none of it really made sense to me. I mean, you had San Diego, big buyers, right? They brought in like some quality players, a lot of arms for themselves, a bat here and there. But, San Francisco's, behind 3 big players with the Dodgers, San Diego, and Arizona. Arizona was even some buyers with some relief pitching, but I just don't understand what they were holding on to there. I said, but then, I watched, your team with Detroit, selling at the last minute. I know I reached out to you at that point. It was like, ooh, get, offloading some people real quick, right? Like, but that was actually more smart. I mean, they're in that position. They're 15 games out. We know it's not their year. I mean, but like that, the identity that the Giants were just kind of holding, like as if they were still competing and buying a couple of people. I think they had come in at the same point. I can't remember right now off the cuff, but I mean, I just remembered, seeing a couple of those, just watching them specifically as being that team where I'm like, all right, they're going to make moves. Like, what are they doing? I thought Pittsburgh did a great job for themselves, added a few other arms. Seattle was great. Atlanta, I don't know what we were thinking. Honestly, I mean, we replicated, in my opinion, the same version of the 2021 World Series team. I mean, they brought back literally Soler. They brought back Action Jackson, which, in my opinion, is really like heart attack Jackson. I can't stand that guy in my bullpen. So I couldn't believe it when he came back. Outside of that, I mean, there's definitely some good moves that were made. The Yankees getting the reliever with Leiter in their bullpen was a really good, strong move for themselves to help kind of solidify that, right after their starter kind of goes out, having that early arm in there to help push them across to their closer. They're going to shorten some games for themselves for sure, with that strategy. So, yeah, I was pretty impressed. The top teams went and made the right moves, in my opinion. Then you just had some middle of the pack ones that it was questionable. San Francisco is that team that I don't know what they were thinking there at the end, holding on to people like that.
I mean, they're 4.5 back. They figured, hey, you know what I mean? Like,
San Francisco's 9.5 back.
I thought they were 4.5 back of the wild card.
Oh, from the wild card, yeah. I mean,
I
didn't even look at the wild card, but
I kind of think they figured, hey, we could make up some ground on that. I'm looking at Sweeney, who is included in the Faraday deal. This is his prospect report. Lefty bat didn't really fit into the Dodgers' long-term plan, as his defense is stretched at shortstop, and he doesn't have a plus tool. He can be a regular in the right situation, but he profiles better as a multi-position player, backup.
Yeah.
The other guy they got, he's the Dodgers 3 prospect. I mean, he looks like he could be something, but he's in double A ball. Like we don't know what you get. I
think one of the other things that stood out, and our boy, like Fetty, right? Like going over to the Cardinals, that was a good move from the White Sox. I was surprised they held on to people like Crochet. I expected him as a starter to be going somewhere as a big arm. There were definitely some things that the White Sox also held on to that I was a little surprised. But yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your train of thought. You had me thinking of like, our standard people that we look out for this season, and kind of where they ended up.
No, like what I heard was the trade. I was surprised the Tigers didn't unload Skubal. Like this was
guy. Yeah.
I was surprised they didn't unload him. But the team that wanted him the most was the O's. And the Tigers are like, if you want him, we need Jackson Holiday back.
Yeah, that ain't happening.
But I mean, like, I will give them props because they were shooting for the moon. And Skubal, he still has a good contract. You know what I mean? So they could easily move him next year as well if they're in the same spot. Right. And for clarity, I heard they wanted Kobe Mayo straight up. So, I mean, they were at least shooting for the moon. It seems like this guy they got from the Dodgers, third best prospect, maybe he can be something in a couple years. But as a Tiger fan, it's frustrating because it's always like, 3 more years. 3 more years. You know what I mean? Like when you look at what the O's have with all these young guys, we've been just as bad as the O's have. Where are our young guys? Where is our developmental system? Just nowhere to be found.
Right.
I kind of like, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. I was just saying, right. I was agreeing.
And then I kind of liked what the Mariners did. Mariners, obviously, their main thing is getting some run production. They traded for Randy Arozarena. Did I say that right?
Rosarena.
Rosarena, excuse me. Rosarena. And when you look at their runs per game with him in the lineup, they're already averaged four more runs a game with him in the lineup.
Right.
And with the young pitching they have, this would be a team, if the bats can get going, that could be something. As soon as they made that trade, I took the M's at 25-1 to win it all. Nice. Just because I like their pitching. They just need to get the hitting going. I think if they do that, I think this could be a dangerous team come the playoffs because of how many young arms they have.
Absolutely.
I was a little surprised the Brewers didn't get any front end rotation help.
Yeah.
I know they did get the kid from Montes from
Oakland?
Reds, from the Reds, but that really
yeah.
But I mean that's really not like a oh shit type of move.
Right.
Feedy, you look, dude, rest in peace, man. The first 5 God. It was good. It was a great run, dude. It was a great run, but you know what? That magic is long gone, dude.
Yeah.
I didn't bet it today just because he's not for the White Sox. And it's going to a completely different system. So, it was a good run, Feedy. May your glory rest in peace. But the White Sox signed that guy from KBO and they flipped him for some guys.
Right.
Like that's what you should be doing. And when you kind of sit back at it, Tigers, I felt could have done a little bit more. I felt like you said, the Giants could have done something.
Yep.
Pirates are an interesting team. Maybe to make the playoffs, I kind of want to get invested in if I can find a better number. But we'll get into that maybe next week. Maybe we can each have a future. But let's get into tonight's slate for August 2nd. First game on the board, man. Where are you going?
Yeah, first game on the board. Looking at the Mets at the Angels. So basically, the way that I've got this thing teed up for myself is, Mets are in my top 10 offense walking into this. Paul Blackburn is going on the mound for them. He's a fresh trade coming over as a fresh arm. He's actually in really good form for himself too, walking into this game, right? So he's got a whip of 1.2, really good form. I really just like where this is at for himself with a new team, especially a team that has an offense that can really help support him on a little more consistent basis. But don't get me wrong, I think he came over from Oakland, and Oakland was on a little hot hitting streak that I've been talking about since last week, and they still are. So they're another team to kind of look at for tonight, actually. That I was kind of flip flopping between them and this team here, but the Mets, in my opinion, overall better body of work for what we want to see going into this matchup tonight. So you're going against Tyler Anderson. You got some stats on Tyler Anderson. I actually would like you to kind of feed in a little bit on this as well.
You know what? I don't have those stats up anymore.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll put it this way. I can keep talking if you can find it. But
I will find them.
But I'll put it this way. So, like I said, the Mets right now, overall better body of work. All right. So again, 3 areas I always look at. You got your offense, you got your starting pitching, you got your relief pitching, right? So they've already checked the box and being one of my top 10 offensive teams walking into this matchup for the series. They got a great arm on the mound. So that's competitive as well. And then, from an overall bullpen perspective, they're very healthy. Their available bullpen walking into tonight has a whip of 1.1. So that is very healthy in terms of available bullpen. That means they're not taxed. This is a fresh team. Even when, the ball leaves the starter's hands, they're absolutely going to be able to control that game for, being in a good position to win for themselves. So on the opposite foot, you got the Angels bullpen, who's sporting an available bullpen whip of 1.7. Anything over 1.4, they're getting rocked. They are a tax bullpen. You got to look at that very closely for yourself. So not only that, but their offensive, outputs for themselves right now, they are my top 15 offense. So little bit down on the tree, middle of the pack right now. Just in terms of overall performance for themselves. You also got the Mets. They're winning series left and right now. I mean, they are winners of last 3 series against both the Yankees, the Braves they split with, Minnesota they just walked on a win streak from. They are rolling pretty hot right now after the All-Star break. The bats are alive. Pitching's good. Let's go get this win early with, taking this run line -1, -110. I was gonna go money line, but you start to get up to that minus 130, almost to the 140 price point come game time. So didn't want anybody listening to that too late. Stick with your run line, stick with the minus 110, a little bit better odds for ourselves, a little less juice.
The main thing with Anderson and myself, like I'm on the Mets for the first 5. Mm-hmm. He is second in left on base percentage. That means runners are getting on and they're just not getting over. His ERA is 2.96, but when you look at how many runners are getting on base, it's 4.36. I mean, there's 2 pitchers this year that are insanely overachieving in my eyes. And they're 1-2 in left on base percentage. Number 1, Tyler Anderson. Number 2, can you guess who number 2 is?
Number 2?
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to guess that.
Andrew Abbott.
Okay. I could see that, though.
Because he has both those guys have a high left on base percentage. In terms of Anderson, ERA 2.96, because his expected ERA is 4.71.
That's crazy.
You know what I mean? Like, he should be allowing a lot more. For whatever reason, the runners aren't going in. I feel it's just a matter of time before the floodgates open. So I'm on the Mets first 5. David's on the Mets here, -1, -110. My first bet, I'm going to the nation's capital. Give me the Brewers here, -110, first 5. Irwin's on the mound for the Nationals. The last 2 years in games against the Brewers, 7.71 ERA, a whip of 2. Just faced the Brewers on the 14th of July, went 4 innings, allowed 6 runs. That game, his whip was 3. Brewers has hit this guy consistently for the last 2 years. And these are the stats that have really stuck out to me. Brewers' 4th best record, first 5 as a visitor this season, 14% ROI. Off a loss, this is where the great bounce back team, 63.6%, 26.2% ROI. That is on the road. Off a loss in general, 64%, 12.8% ROI. I have a team that's showing us all year after a loss, they bounce back. There's been a lot of times where they lose the game, but they at least bounce back in the first 5 after a loss against a pitcher who, for the last 2 years, they've hit great against. So to me, Brewers -110, first 5 makes all the sense in the world. That is my first bet, my friend.
Nice.
Where are you going to next?
Yeah, so next matchup, I'm going Red Sox at the Rangers. So we're looking at the matchup of Cutter Crawford and Jose Urena. And basically, Urena basically here is, he's coming out of kind of like long relief, if you will. So I kind of look at this as kind of a bullpen matchup a little bit from the Rangers perspective of, getting his arm in there for you. But, the way that I'm looking at this is it's a purely offensive dominated game for the Red Sox. They are absolutely mashing right now. They're my number 3 overall offensive team walking into this series for this weekend. Meanwhile, on the opposite foot, the Rangers, my number 28 ranked offensive team. So even, with Urena going and that probably being a bullpen matchup for themselves, they have a long uphill battle in terms of run support walking into this one for themselves. So Crawford is looking really good with his whip. Last 3, he's averaging a 1.2 whip right now. So not a lot of people getting across. I think he's just had some unfortunate, events in terms of the actual ERA that's, supporting that. But the whip is a true indicator in my model in terms of where we're going and the actual output of how the performance is with these teams. Because you can chalk anything else up to ERA when it just gets blown up sometimes on an event. But that being said, their bullpen is also in great form for Boston. We're looking at a 1.2, so consistent across the board in terms of good form, rested bullpen, great hot bats. Meanwhile on the other side, you got cold bats, you got an unwell rested pitching that's going on with a bullpen game for themselves for Texas. So definitely something that I think has the the Red Sox just continuing to perform at a high level and scoring runs in bunches. So getting them at this one, I can also just kind of tell, from my own personal take of looking at this, is that the books are looking at this as kind of a pick 'em for themselves because they don't know which way to draw their line right now. But yeah, absolutely loving the low juice on this. Go get them real easy money in my opinion for a nice win tonight.
I like it. My second bet, Tigers -0.5, first 5 plus 115. Tigers are just a different team with Skubal on the mound. They average more runs per game. Their offense just comes alive. This year, first 5 after a loss with Skubal on the mound, 75%. And the Tigers have lost a lot this year. On the spread line this year, he is 76.9% with a 22.9% ROI with the fave. And look, I've been saying this, dude, and I think you're finally coming around to my big thing. Royals are cheating at home. First 5 this season, 12, 17, and 3. Batting average at home, first in the MLB. On the road, 19th. On base percentage.
Yep.
8th at home. 26th on the road. Slugging percentage. 5th at home. 18th on the road. OPS. First at home. 23rd on the road. Why is this happening? What? It's because there is tells going on at home for the Royals, and you cannot convince me nothing else. Skubal 0.82 whip this season. You look at Reagan's since the All-Star break, 1.46 whip. He's been hit a lot. I think the Tigers are going to be able to get to him. Skubal, he's just been a rock this season. Tigers are a different team with him. -0.5, plus 115. And I'm going to say this. The only thing the Tigers have to play for right now is trying to get him a Cy Young.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? So yeah. I expect an effort. If Hitch is anything, that's kind of what I expect him to kind of sit. Let's rally around it, troops. Let's go get it. I'll take the Tigers here, -0.5, plus 115.
Love it. I am coming around because here's the thing. I looked at this game and I was like, the Royals have the better offense. And I was looking for reasons and then, to bet them. And what stood out to me situationally was they're away. And, dude, I'm telling you. And I don't factor a lot of home away bias, but this team splits are absurd.
I'm telling you, man, there is something going on in Kansas City.
Yeah.
There's literally something going on in effing Kansas City.
Yeah, I don't disagree whatsoever.
Where are you going to, my friend?
All right. Last game that I'm looking at for today's board is going to be Arizona at Pittsburgh. So we're looking at taking Arizona, I believe, on the run line -1 for plus 100. And yep, there it is. So basically, the way that I look at this is really, really just set up nicely for Arizona. Arizona is my number 1 overall offensive team walking into this series. And so, with that in mind, I love everything about them. They have averaged basically 10 runs over their, last few games here for themselves. Offensive just going nuts for themselves. I mean, I know that was against Washington, but, they are winners of 3 of their, every last series for themselves, going back to just after the All-Star break against KC, for instance. So, they won against KC, they won against Pittsburgh, they won against Washington. They're returning now to play at Pittsburgh. So I just love kind of watching where this team is headed right now in the right direction. So you also got, from a starting pitching perspective, You got Brandon. I don't actually know how to say his last name. I'm going to call it PFAT. But
You sound like
it's like fate or something like that. I mean, I actually don't know
like
how
me,
to. I know. I'm like, I think you're rubbing off like the verbal, verboseness here. Anyhow, so you got him going for Arizona. They look really sharp. His overall whip right now is under 1 at 0.63. I mean, it is absolutely beautiful to see something like that. Anytime a pitcher's under 1, nobody's getting on base against this guy. He's in great form for himself, is really what this is saying. And on the opposite end, don't get me wrong, Pittsburgh's Luis Ortiz is going. He is also in good form for himself. But again, I'm going with the hotter bats. I'm going with the better arm, better overall form team. The other angle that you can kind of take a look at this is their bullpen. You got Pittsburgh with a bullpen. Both of them actually have equal bullpens themselves. They're each with 1.3 whips. So they're not overly taxed. They're, getting close, but that's just because they've been winning so many games that, they're coming up with save opportunities almost every night, if not blowing these teams out and not, getting to rest their closers. So it's looking really good. I really like where Arizona is just overall on this. So, I didn't want to pay any juice. I totally expect them to win this game by more than a run, which is why I'm taking the run line with the even money.
Could you see a world where they make a run again like they did last year?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, because that kind of came out.
They brought in some relievers, which is why I'm thinking of how you just described that, because they're going to shorten their games as well for their starters. Their bullpen's going to get stretched out. They're going to have certain people. I mean, you get the ball to their bullpen in the 7th. They're going to have somebody in the 7th, 8th, and 9th with Puck and Seawald, and I can't remember the other guy's name that I'm blanking on. But I mean, you even get it to just those guys in the last few innings. Nobody's touching them.
Yeah, no one at all. Yeah. I kind of feel like we missed the boat, though. I thought we could have got some better odds with them like a couple weeks ago. Right. My last bet. I mean, like, seriously, I should just say Brian Wu, peace out. He's been a cash cow his first 5 since being called up. I'm on the M's here, -0.5, first 5 plus 110. Cash cow since being called up. 62%, 8% ROI. This year, 72.7%, 13.2% ROI. Now, I know everyone's like, they're playing the Phillies. Phillies have been one of the best offense this year. But when we shorten up the sample size, since the All-Star break, against right-handed pitching, they only have the 25 best offense. Okay. They've struggled out of the gates from the All-Star break against right-handed pitching. Wood has looked good since coming back from the injury. You throw out that first game he came back from the injury, which you kind of have to do. Like, the first game the pitcher comes back, it's always a little bit of a struggle. Let's throw that game out. His last 2, whip, 0.9317, ERA of 1.86. So I have a pitcher in insanely good form against a team since the All-Star game has struggled against right-handed pitching. Also, we mentioned, what's the guy's name? Jesus Christ. Randy
Arozarena. Yeah, I got you.
Mariners are averaging 2 more runs a game since he got there.
Right.
So, I mean, their offense seems to be clicking a little bit more with him batting second. I love this Mariners team. They're my adopted team right now. They're my third child right now. Child one is the Tigers. Child two is the Brewers. Child 3, give me the Mariners. I'll take the Mariners here. First 5, -0.5, plus 110, my friend. So there you have it. 3 bets for David. R, if you could please repeat them, my friend.
Yeah, so looking at the Mets run line -1 at -110. We got Boston money line at -104. And we got the Arizona D-backs run line -1 at +100 as well.
My 3 are Brewers -110, first 5. Tigers -0.5, first 5. And the Mariners first 5 -0.5 plus 110. David, I'd like to thank you for coming on, talking a little MLB. Why don't you tell everyone where they can find you on social media, my friend?
Yeah, as always, look for me on X or Twitter or Instagram. Same handle, bettordp21, better with an OR. Thanks again for having me, man. Always appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. Enjoy talking shop with you. Look forward to the trash talking that's going to go on later tonight when Woo pitches a fucking no-hitter and just lights up the Phillies. Make sure to give my boy David a follow. We'll be back next week. Also, for those watching on YouTube, it really helps us out. Just give us a nice little subscribe. Those watching on Twitch, give us a nice little follow. We'll be back next week. Good luck in your bets, my friend.
Yeah, that's cash.